My 42-year-old landlord bittersweetly became my Lil OG after a wild affair, then betrayed me by taking my house while I juggled family chaos. "You've always been my girl," he said, "but now he wants back in my life. Is it love or manipulation?" Hello, everyone's. This is going to be a bit lengthy, I apologize, just bear with me. But I need to express my feelings and hopefully get some feedback. When I was 19, I got my first apartment. My landlord was a 42-year-old man. I thought he was attractive and wanted to pursue a relationship, but I was focused on myself and had a live-in girlfriend. It was somewhat an open arrangement at that time. We flirted, eventually hooked up, and became infatuated with one another. I mean, truly infatuated. After a couple of months, I discovered he had a live-in girlfriend who was a year older than me. Somehow, we met when they had been together for a year. He was clearly popular with women, possessing an old-school charm that attracted people of all ages. He and I simply vibed together, there were no restrictions, we understood each other, and the intimacy was the best I had ever experienced. We looked out for one another, but we were both living our own lives. He was my little original gangster. Fast forward almost 2 years. I moved from that apartment to assist my family, had a son. He was a result of sexual assault, and I effectively took on the financial role in my household as I was the only one working. I was caring for my child, my younger sister, my grandmother, who had just been diagnosed with dementia, and my mother, who, although capable, was living with her partner. It was a lot of responsibility for a 21-year-old. On December 21, 2015, my family home caught fire. My mother's spiritual candles ignited her books, and it was a disaster. My family home was paid off, but when my grandfather died 3 years prior, I only thought to pay the taxes and utilities. Obtaining separate insurance never crossed my mind until then. So there I was with an unlivable house and family members to provide for, no home insurance, along with my large dogs. I reached out to Mr. OG. At this point, we were essentially just having casual encounters. He suggested I return and take my old apartment. It was a small one-bedroom, but it provided shelter. Now I was bewildered about what to do. I lived in a neighborhood experiencing rampant gentrification, and people were eyeing my home since it was in a prime location. I was receiving fines from the city, and neighbors were trying to make me offers whenever they saw me or inquired about my plans. Mind you, all of this was coming from my limited finances. I sought his advice. This was not about romance. I genuinely needed guidance and support, but I had also become pregnant within 30 days of returning to the building, so I felt a level of trust with him based on that and our past history. Long story short, he convinced me to make a deal with him and his cousin, where I would use power of attorney to sign my family home over to her so that she could take out a construction loan to refurbish it, and then she would sell it back to me. Before this arrangement, we both attempted to secure loans. I had no credit and not nearly enough income, while his credit was poor. Even with the assets he possessed, he had sold most of his buildings after the 2008 financial crisis and was working to rebuild. Therefore, the cousin appeared to be a feasible option, and he was very reassuring. Things took a dramatic turn. I almost ended up in jail. In fact, I still have a felony burglary charge I must have expunged for breaking into my own home. The cousin attempted to take my house. He received nearly $200,000 and I became essentially homeless, ending up in court with him and that cousin with whom he was involved for almost 7 years. Naturally, I felt hurt and betrayed. My grandmother passed away before she could return to her home. It was one of the greatest betrayals I have ever experienced. The second betrayal was also by him, and it dragged me through a tough period. I cut off contact in 2017. I began to live my life, raising my children, still feeling hurt but managing to cope. In 2021, the case was nearing its conclusion. I was facing federal time as it essentially involved bank fraud that I utilized to try to save the house. My mother and sister had returned at this point, but I could not live there. I went to Mexico for the legal proceedings as I was scared and was about to leave the country. They ultimately dropped the case thanks to my lawyers, but it was a terrifying experience. I returned home from Mexico in October 2021. In December 2021, I was randomly browsing Instagram when I noticed a restricted folder that was lit up. I had never seen it before, or at least I did not remember it. Inside the folder were 4 years' worth of messages from Mr. OG, commenting on my life and things I had posted over the years, but I had never seen any of them. I suspect my ex, who had access to my passwords, restricted him at some point during our relationship. The last message was dated about a week before I discovered them. My foolish self responded. He expressed his affection intensely, saying how much he missed me, how no one ever connected with him like I did, how sorry he was that he had started a trucking company, and that I needed to come work with him because my investment had initiated it. He promised to make me a millionaire by the age of 30 by buying me a building. I thought, so you took my money and started a business that profits even more. My hurt 21, 22-year-old self wanted what she believed she was owed. So I entertained him, but I was hesitant to meet. He initially tried to fly me to Atlanta because he was out there purchasing a G-Wagon, which was another thing that lured me in, not because I was materialistic but because I wanted what was rightfully mine. I didn't fly down, but we eventually met at a restaurant when he returned. Despite everything, I missed him. He put on heavy charm and sold me on the idea of running this business with him, claiming he needed me. We ended up at a hotel and made love for days. That week, we set up the office for the trucking company in the apartment building. He gave me a salary and keys, and I managed dispatch. We made around $100,000 a month with 4 trucks. I was 27, approaching 28, and he was 50 at this point, still with his live-in girlfriend. About 2 weeks in, he said, "You have always been my girl, you understand me, my body. I spoke to sister wife and told her I need 2 women. I have always been unfaithful, but I want to do things the right way, and it has always been you." In my mind, I thought, yeah, okay, but he showed me with his actions. We were together every day building the business. On January 28, 2022, I discovered I was pregnant. Keep in mind, he had asked for a baby and was enthusiastic about it. From that moment onward, things went south again, intensifying when he learned I was not having a boy. I later discovered sister wife was also pregnant, with a boy due in September while I was due in October. He revealed his true colors, attempted to pay me to abort, ceased financial support, and hinted at signing away his rights, leading to betrayal number 2. It left me feeling even more foolish, confused, and broken, experiencing all the emotions. I gathered myself, went to a shelter to secure housing, and started rebuilding, though I admittedly lingered in a low place for a significant time. I felt I had wasted my youth and fertility on this older man who never cared. Now I have 3 children with no support. Fast forward to 2024, my daughter is 1 and has seen her father maybe 5 times, if that. Somehow in mid-year, he started coming around again. This time it felt different for me as I had lost trust in him, but I desperately wanted my daughter to have a bond with her father, which I never had, so I was open to it. Over the following months, I learned the trucking business had collapsed nearly immediately after I left. He was now driving trucks as if he had a job. One thing about him is that he hustles. He would only take a job if it were absolutely necessary, yet he mismanaged that money. I listened but remained guarded. Having just turned 30, I was still in that postpartum fog and had entered a bitter phase in my life. In June 2024, I was about to move unknowingly around the corner from where he worked and had just landed a job. This marked the beginning of another wave of complications. Honestly, I am trying to figure out how I got drawn back into this situation, but in June 2024, we began having intimate encounters again. This time I was more composed, avoiding emotional attachment, fully aware it could end badly. We were involved, but I was focused on my own life. I didn't have a boyfriend, yet I was chatting and flirting with others. I think I slept with someone other than him twice in the last 6 months of 2024. Meanwhile, he expressed his desire for me to be exclusive with him, but I let that slip in one ear and out the other. In January of this year, I got drunk, and somehow, according to him, I started showing him my connections. I was intoxicated and do not remember any of it, including messages dating from the present to 2 years ago. Following that, we had the most intentional and vulnerable conversation we have ever had in the 12 years we have known each other. He expressed that he never thought I could be exclusive. He felt I did not recognize my worth. He said he needed a woman who could focus solely on him, and while he would always be promiscuous, he did not take me seriously because he doubted my commitment. He argued that I spread myself too thin with my family and must learn to embrace my feminine energy. He locked in with sister wife because she always complied with his wishes. Now that I've matured, he claims to see my vision, acknowledging that I have cultivated something within myself that he requires, and he wants to invest in my growth. He stated that no man he observed interacting with me could compare to him and that he genuinely wants to claim me this time. He promised that if I allowed him, he would teach me everything he knows. In my mind, I thought, thanks for your direct contribution to my chaos. Imagine if I hadn't been in survival mode for the last 10 years. Additionally, a month or 2 before this discussion, I told him that he only comes around to occupy space so that I do not move on. I still partially believe that. He began to do the things I had always requested, the most significant being obtaining life insurance for my children. It was bittersweet. On one hand, I was grateful because I could see my kids benefiting from him, yet on the other hand, I thought, you only see value in us now, even though you have always known what we needed and chose not to provide it while giving care elsewhere. To be clear, I am not a woman who solely needs a man. Over the last 10 years, I have dealt with him. However, after going no contact in 2017, I did enter a relationship that lasted 4 years until 2021, and then I remained celibate for 8 months while in Mexico before reconnecting with him. After having my daughter, I also abstained from sex for a considerable time once more. I genuinely enjoy my solitude and feel I may have negatively impacted myself. Since that discussion, I have changed my number at his request and severed contact with all males in my life. Whether I engage with him or not, it was a necessary step, and I feel liberated. He has started teaching me about trading, and he is restarting the trucking business. He approached me today about setting up the offices in my home, and he has a key. He comes over to put the kids to bed. We make love nearly every day, and he has requested that we try for another child so we can do it right from the beginning. I am avoiding that request, as I suspect it is influenced by sister wife's son, who is severely autistic, and his narcissism wants reassurance that it is not due to him. He frequently comments on how advanced our daughter is in comparison to her brother. Our children adore him, and I cannot deny that having a man's support feels good. However, it is still bittersweet as I realize this is the version of him that sister wife has always known, never having to worry, providing direction and leadership, yet I sense he is seeking some of that same energy from me now. It's as though he needs a safe space to find his footing, brainstorm, and breathe. He is 53 now, and karma has hit him hard. He has given me the gift of clarity, shattering my unrealistic optimism and hope with logic and reason. He has grounded me. While I am inherently an optimistic person because my God has shown me immense favor, I recognize the importance of due process and human nature and will only place that kind of blind faith in the Creator or universe. I do not know if it is because life has humbled him, but he is showing up most importantly for our children. It feels as though I am dealing with an entirely different man. He claims that life has taken us where we need to be, that God required both of us to grow, but I believe life has consistently brought us together and blessed us. I think he believed he was smarter or superior to me or us, in some way, or perhaps I was genuinely gullible, and now, as I have matured and allowed space for my dreams, he wants to draw from that too. He has played a significant role in my development this year and throughout my life. As much as I want to despise him, I cannot. He insists that either this time around we are going to get it right, or this experience will prepare me for a genuine relationship. For the record, I am an attractive woman, physically fit, intelligent, and wise, even if I do not always apply it to myself and have potential suitors. I could find a quality, stable partner, and having children does not hinder that. However, will I trust that man around my children, feel attracted to him, or find that he understands me? That is another question. Mr. OG embodies many of my ideal traits in a partner as well as some that I loathe. When he walks in, you know a man is present. However, in the last 6 months, I have started to see him differently and understand how many of the personas he presents came to be. My soul will always love his soul. We were destined to meet in this lifetime, but now I can't help but mourn the possibilities that awaited me. I have finally transitioned from my heart to my head, now in a relationship that my heart desired while processing it through logic. It is a tumultuous mix of emotions inside. Although I feel more grounded, I have been traumatized by him and do not yearn for a relationship as much as I want to make my family work. I know he is an all-in or all-out type of person, and I believe my children are reaping the benefits. I do not know what I seek by sharing this. It has simply weighed heavily on me, and it feels good to express it. I am the friend who listens to others' problems but pridefully refrains from seeking advice, so I am grateful for this release if nothing else. Story 2. Stuck in a toxic relationship, I kept thinking about my high school ex who ghosted me after I rejected her. I cried for days over cutting things off with you, she later confessed, but now she's found someone new. Should I reach out after all these years? This will be quite a challenge, but I will keep it as concise as possible. If you read this and provide me with advice, please know that your support is greatly appreciated. I met a girl who was 1 year younger than me in high school and we got along exceptionally well. We made our relationship official when I was a senior. I went off to college and initially we tried to maintain our relationship, but I was young and inexperienced, surrounded by many new people. I ended the relationship to enjoy my college years, and I deeply regret that now this is a lesson for any young readers. Over the years, we kept in touch and had a few brief flings. She moved far away, making it difficult for us to maintain anything serious. Our relationship began to become more serious when I was 23. She urged me to commit to her and even discussed the possibility of marriage. However, she lived in another state, and I could not uproot my life for the relationship, nor could she. Due to the logistical challenges, we rarely saw each other, but we attempted to make the long-distance relationship work. Throughout all of this, I felt an extraordinary connection with her, unlike any connection I have had with anyone else. I never committed to her, and eventually she ghosted me. I learned from a mutual friend that she had started dating someone new. At that time, she had blocked me on Facebook so I would not see her new relationship, I suppose. I was incredibly hurt and felt betrayed. It felt as if she had cheated on me, even though we were never officially together despite discussions about marriage. Reflecting on it now, what a complicated situation. Fast forward 2 years, I found myself in a new yet extremely toxic relationship. She reached out to explain her perspective and why she had cut me off. She was no longer with the new guy and expressed her sincere apologies. She told me it was the hardest decision she had ever made, and she cried for days after ending our relationship. Initially, I was not very receptive to her messages because A, I was with someone new, and B, I was still very upset with her for what she had done. My new relationship was terrible, and I felt trapped because we moved in together quickly and had our lives deeply intertwined. I was miserable and depressed, and I began talking to my ex more frequently. At some point, she confessed that she still loved me and had thought about me every day for a long time. I realize how wrong it was for me, and I genuinely feel terrible for going behind my then-girlfriend's back like this. A year after we reconnected, she informed me that she was finally moving back home and wanted to see me. I was still in my relationship at that time, although we had broken up once and were trying to work things out. Around the time my ex mentioned her move, I broke up with my girlfriend for good. She lived in my house and took an extended period to move out, and I did everything I could to assist her during this. I did not want to see my ex until everything was officially settled with my current relationship. I know I am not a good person for having communicated with her while in a relationship, but at least I drew the line at not meeting up. A few months passed between the breakup and my eventual readiness to see my ex. I had delayed meeting her several times, citing the need for more time or giving excuses. When I was finally prepared, she no longer wished to meet because she had started seeing someone new. I felt hurt again and ended up blocking her out of frustration. That was about 3.5 years ago, and I have not spoken to her since. I have matured significantly during those 3.5 years, and I realize I was terrible to not one but two people throughout this process. I deeply regret my actions. I have never shared this entire story with my friends as I am aware of how wrong I was and I feel ashamed of it. I am no longer that person and I do not want to become that person again. 2 years ago, I started dating someone who knew her. They were not friends but rather acquaintances. I explained some of this situation to her, disclosing how I had communicated with my ex even when I was in my previous relationship. Whenever my new girlfriend posted pictures of us, my ex would like them. I found this odd and am still unsure what to make of it. That most recent relationship ended recently, we are remaining friends, and she mentioned that she knew my ex was also recently single. I do not understand why she brought this up. I have reflected extensively on all of this. I understand that I am the one at fault here. She did nothing wrong throughout this situation, except perhaps being an active participant in emotional cheating. I am not sure. I learned quickly how short life can be, having faced a major battle against a serious illness in the last 2 years. I am doing well for the moment, though. I still think about her often and have never truly been able to erase her from my mind, even after long periods of no contact. I am considering unblocking her to message her, acknowledging how wrong I was and expressing my regret over how things transpired between us. I do not expect a reply from her, I just want her to know that I look back with deep remorse for my actions. Would this be acceptable? I am uncertain, but I keep reminding myself that life is short. Why should I not reach out? Summary: I am contemplating messaging my ex-girlfriend with whom I have had an on and off relationship for 10 years, but I have not spoken to her in the last 3 years, in order to apologize for my actions.